In today's episode, a young black bear targets a baby left alone and sleeping in her stroller as her mother and two older siblings play in the grass nearby. The black bear attacks, grabbing the baby and bringing her into the woods. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. This is the horrifying bear attack on Esther Schwimmer. Welcome to Final Affliction. In August 2002, Rachel and Pincus Schwimmer took their three children for a holiday in the Catskill Mountains. They were from Brooklyn, New York, but always visited the Catskills for their vacation. It was something they did every year. They were staying in the village of Woodbridge in the Catskill Mountains. The heavily wooded, mountainous region is situated in the southeast of New York State. It is an area of outstanding natural beauty, a wilderness that stretches for 700 acres. The area is popular with hikers, cyclists, and water sports enthusiasts. In the winter, the Catskills also boast 5 downhill ski areas, which draw thousands of people to the slopes each year. Rachel and Pincus were staying with their 3 children in some summer cottages for their vacation. Those who lived in New York City often ventured to the Catskills to enjoy the fresh air and countryside that it offers. The area once attracted hundreds of thousands of visitors every year. Holiday cottages and hotels used to be popular and full to the brim with visitors, but now only a few holiday properties remained. Some of them were in need of refurbishment and looked run down. The young Schwimmer family had spent some time exploring the outdoors and were enjoying their time together. It was a glorious sunny August day. After lunch, their youngest child, Esther, was due a nap. She was 5 months old. Rachel decided to place the baby in the stroller and head outside the cottage. She and the 2 older children walked around the site quietly while Esther drifted off to sleep in the stroller. Once she was sound asleep, Rachel parked up the buggy just outside the porch of their cottage. Next to it was a large grassy lawn, which she and the older children played on whilst the baby slept. The older children were 4 and 2 years old and happily ran around on the grass, chasing each other and squealing in delight. Unknown to Rachel, there was a bear nearby. It was a young male black bear, probably only 2 years old or so. He was one that had become accustomed to people and frequented the holiday cottages. He was on the prowl for scraps of food. He often rooted around in the trash, eating people's leftovers before heading back into the woods. The bear lifted his head. His nose twitched as he sniffed the air. He walked purposefully towards the holiday cottages where Esther slept peacefully. Suddenly, there was a shout from one of the holiday makers. Rachel couldn't make sense of it at first. She stood up and looked around. Then the shout came again. "Bear!" Rachel saw a young male black bear come ambling out of the surrounding woodland. It headed straight for the grassy lawn and the family. Hurriedly, Rachel grabbed her 4-year-old and 2-year-old and ran to the cottage with them under her arms. She rushed inside and told them to stay there while she went back outside for the baby. But it was too late. She heard terrified screams and watched in horror as the black bear knocked Esther from her buggy. The screaming infant landed on the ground. Then, in one swift movement, the baby was lifted up in the bear's jaws. It shook her tiny body from side to side. The baby's screams were ear-piercing as she hung in the bear's mouth. Everyone came running out of their accommodations to see what all the commotion was. When they saw the dramatic and terrifying scene unfolding, they began running at the bear. They shouted and screamed at it to drop the baby. Reports suggest that Pincus, Esther's father, chased the bear. He was injured as the bear swiped at him, but he kept running at the bear, trying desperately to reach his baby girl. In a panic, the young male black bear ran into the woods, less than 20 yards away, with Esther still in his mouth. Several people, including Pincus, pursued it. They picked up rocks and stones and hurled them at the bear. At first, the bear stood its ground as the rocks came crashing down on it, hitting it on its back and face. But then, amongst the chaos of the screaming and shouting, the bear panicked and dropped the infant. Then it turned and ran off into the woods. Fallsburg police officer Dave Decker arrived within minutes of the incident. When he pulled up, he noticed the baby's stroller knocked over in the middle of the grass. He followed the sound of shouts and screams into the nearby woodland. The infant lay on the ground, and Rachel ran up to her. She was bloodied, and her screams had died down. Rachel wrapped her in a blanket, and an ambulance was called. Tragically, on the way to Ellenville Hospital, Esther died from severe neck and head injuries. It had happened in a matter of seconds. Everyone was shocked and stunned. Panic began to spread through the people. Backup police officers who arrived on the scene shortly after Esther had been ambulanced off found the bear. It hadn't moved very far from the site and had climbed up a tree. The officers took aim and fired 5 shots at the bear. It fell to the ground with a heavy thump. The bear was taken away for an autopsy and to find out whether it was suffering from anything that could have altered its behavior. Woodbridge Mayor James Slater said that bear attacks in the area are very rare, and Ward Stone, the state's chief pathologist, said that in his 34 years on the job, he had never come across anything like it. That's why he was determined to find out whether the bear had a disease. Usually, the black bears in that region were very shy and ran away from humans. The only trouble they caused was from eating bird seed put out by locals and dog food. Encounters with people were few and far between. Rabies was ruled out, as were a number of other viruses. Inside the bear's stomach was woodland vegetation, as well as human food, small plastic bags, fruit labels, and aluminum foil. The bear had clearly become accustomed to feasting on human food and was attracted to the area because of it. The bear hadn't been tagged, which happens if a bear has caused problems before. He was a young male, weighing about 155 pounds, 70 kilograms. He likely hadn't long left his mother and was finding his feet in terms of foraging for food and securing territory. Wildlife experts tried examining the bear's brain to look for any abnormalities, but 2 of the officers' bullets struck the bear in the head, making that difficult. Experts say that he was probably attracted to the young family and, in particular, the baby, due to its unusual smell. Milk and diapers may have enticed the curious bear, and some suggest that he may not have intended to kill the baby. Prior to this attack, the last known fatality involving a bear in New York State was in 1987. This was an unusual incident, though, in which a young boy climbed into the polar bear enclosure at Prospect Park Zoo in Brooklyn. He was fatally mauled by 2 polar bears there. At the time of the attack in 2002, the American Bear Association said that only 40 deaths in the whole of North America were due to black bears. Esther had been incredibly unlucky. Following Esther's death, there were calls for bear hunting to be introduced in neighboring states, New Jersey and Connecticut. At the time of the fatality, bear hunting was illegal in these 2 states, and as a result, numbers of bears have been rising rapidly. This has led to more bear-human encounters and frequent complaints about bears wandering into residential areas and even people's homes. Feeding bears, intentionally or unintentionally, can lead to a dangerous situation where the bear becomes habituated to human presence and loses its natural fear of people. When bears become used to being fed by humans, they may start to associate people with food and become more likely to approach humans in search of a meal. This behavior can pose a serious risk to human safety, as bears can become aggressive if they feel threatened or if they perceive humans as a source of food. Once a bear has learned to associate people with food, it may continue to seek out human food sources, even if they are not being intentionally fed. This can create a dangerous situation for both humans and bears, as bears that have become habituated to humans may be more likely to attack. Situations like what happened to Esther Schwimmer can be drastically reduced, and people can enjoy nature without meeting their final affliction.